invitation. The message arrived on a frequency humanity hadn't used in 3 years, not since the Battle of Proxima's Edge had painted the void red with blood. Ambassador Helena Merrick stood in her office aboard Earth's orbital command station, watching the decoded transmission flicker across her holographic display. The words glowed with an almost mocking elegance. To the representatives of humanity, the Galactic Coalition extends an invitation to discuss terms of lasting peace. Let us end the suffering. Let us rebuild together. Helena's jaw tightened. She'd been a diplomat long enough to know that pretty words often concealed ugly truths. The Coalition, a network of 6 alien species who'd spent the last decade trying to break humanity's expansion into their territories, wanted peace now? After orbital bombardments? After colony massacres? You don't believe them. The voice came from behind her, soft and familiar. Natasha Reeves stepped into the dim light, her tactical analyst uniform crisp despite the late hour. She'd been Helena's advisor for 5 years, through negotiations that had succeeded and others that had ended in gunfire. Somewhere along the way, their professional relationship had deepened into something neither of them spoke about openly, though everyone knew. "Should I?" Helena asked, not turning from the display. Natasha moved closer, close enough that Helena could feel her warmth. "The intelligence suggests they've taken heavy losses. Their supply lines are stretched. Maybe they're genuine. Or maybe they're desperate enough to try something clever." Helena finally looked at her, finding those sharp green eyes that always seemed to see through her carefully maintained composure. "Desperate enemies are the most dangerous kind, Tasha." Natasha's hand found Helena's shoulder, a touch that spoke of comfort and solidarity. "Then we prepare for the worst and hope for the best." "That's what we do." Helena allowed herself a moment of vulnerability, leaning slightly into the contact. These quiet moments between them were rare, stolen from the demands of war and politics. "I'm tired of hoping," she admitted quietly. "Every time I hope, someone dies. Then let others do the hoping." Natasha's voice was firm now. "You do what you do best. See through the lies and protect our people." Before Helena could respond, her comlink chimed. She tapped it, and Captain Jonas Webb's gruff voice filled the room. "Ambassador, I've positioned the fleet according to Protocol Serpent. We're in the outer dark silent running. If this summit goes bad, we'll be ready." Webb commanded Earth's 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, 60 warships strong, each one crewed by men and women who'd learned warfare the hard way. He was old military, scarred by battles that had tested humanity's will to survive. "How long can you maintain position without detection?" Helena asked. "As long as needed. My people know what's at stake." There was a pause. "You think it's a trap, don't you?" Helena exchanged a glance with Natasha. "I think peace summits that come after military stalemates usually have strings attached." "Keep your eyes sharp, Jonas. Watch for anything unusual." "Already seeing it," Webb replied darkly. "The coordinates they've given for the summit station. It's positioned near a planetary system with 3 moons. Perfect ambush geography. If I wanted to trap someone, that's where I'd do it." Helena's blood ran cold, but her voice remained steady. "Then we'll spring their trap with our own. Make sure Admiral Yamamoto's carrier group is ready for immediate deployment." "Acknowledged." "Webb out." The comm went silent. Natasha moved to the window, staring out at the distant stars. "This could be it, you know. The moment that defines whether we survive as a species or become a footnote in galactic history." Helena joined her, their reflections ghosting in the reinforced glass. "Every negotiation feels like that lately." She hesitated, then added quietly, "If things go wrong at the summit." "If I don't make it back, don't." Natasha's voice cracked slightly. "Don't do that." Helena turned to face her, seeing the fear behind the analyst's usual stoicism. She reached out, their fingers intertwining in a grip that was both gentle and fierce. "Someone has to say it. You've been more than an advisor to me, Tasha. You've been my anchor." Natasha's eyes glistened, but she blinked the emotion away. "Then come back and tell me that when we're not staring down the barrel of another war, come back and we'll figure out what this is between us." Helena squeezed her hand once, then released it. "Deal." 2 days later, Helena's shuttle approached the summit station, a gleaming construct of metal and crystal floating serenely above a rust-colored planet. Its 3 moons hung in the distance like watching eyes. Through the viewport, she could see dozens of alien vessels already docked, sleek ships bearing the emblems of the coalition. Beautiful, she thought, just like every trap she'd ever seen. Behind her mask of diplomatic calm, Ambassador Helena Merrick prepared for war. Whispers in the dark, the summit station's grand hall was designed to inspire awe. Vaulted ceilings stretched upward into artificial twilight, where holographic constellations slowly wheeled. Banners representing each species hung from crystalline pillars, the crimson spiral of the HFY, the silver crescent of the Varantis, the geometric patterns of 4 other civilizations that had united against humanity's expansion. Helena Merrick walked the polished floors with measured steps, Natasha at her side. Around them, alien delegates moved in clusters, their conversations creating a symphony of clicks, hums, and guttural tones that the translation devices rendered into sterile diplomatic language. "They're watching us," Natasha murmured, her eyes scanning the crowd while maintaining a pleasant expression. "Let them watch." Helena's voice was equally quiet. "We're watching back." At the hall's center, Cortex waited, the coalition's chosen speaker. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled hide shimmering with iridescent patterns that shifted with his mood. 4 arms folded in a gesture meant to convey openness, but Helena noticed how his clawed fingers twitched, never quite still. "Ambassador Merrick." His voice emerged, smooth as oil through the translator. "How gracious of humanity to accept our invitation." "The galaxy has bled too long." Helena offered a diplomatic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The galaxy has indeed suffered, Cortex. I hope today marks a genuine turning point." The emphasis on genuine wasn't lost on him. His scales flickered briefly to a darker shade before smoothing back to diplomatic neutrality. "Of course. We have prepared quarters for your delegation. Please, refresh yourselves before the ceremony begins." As they were led through corridors lined with more artistic displays of unity, Helena's wrist device vibrated twice, a coded signal from Webb. She touched it casually, activating the subcutaneous receiver in her ear. Multiple energy signatures detected near the 3rd moon. Webb's voice whispered, audible only to her. "Configuration matches Varantis battlecruisers. They're trying to mask their power outputs, but we've got them on thermal." Helena's expression never changed as she admired a sculpture depicting interspecies cooperation. "How many?" She subvocalized, the words picked up by sensors at her throat. "At least 12 capital ships. More could be hiding in the planet's shadow. 12 warships concealed and waiting." Helena's mind raced through the implications as they reached their assigned quarters, a suite decorated with Earth aesthetics that felt more like mockery than courtesy. Once the doors sealed, Natasha immediately swept the room for surveillance devices. She found 7, exactly where someone competent but not paranoid would hide them. She left them active, instead activating a white noise generator disguised as a meditation device. "We're boxed in," Natasha said, pulling up tactical displays on her portable console. "This entire station is a kill zone. If they seal the docking ports and hit us from orbit, they won't get the chance." Helena moved to the window, studying the angles. Because Webb isn't the only one who knows how to hide a fleet. She pulled up her own secure channel, bypassing the station's networks entirely through quantum-entangled communication. "Admiral Yamamoto, status?" A new voice crackled through, distinctly Japanese accent coloring military precision. "5th carrier group is positioned behind the 2nd moon, Ambassador. We have 48 fighters ready for launch and 8 heavy cruisers in support. They haven't detected us yet. Maintain silence until my signal." Helena paused, then added, "If this goes wrong, don't hesitate. Hit them with everything." "Understood." Yamamoto out. Natasha looked up from her console, her face pale. "I've been monitoring their communication bands. There's encrypted traffic between the alien delegates and those hidden ships. I can't break the encryption, but the volume is increasing. They're coordinating something." Helena sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly feeling the weight of countless lives resting on her decisions. Natasha abandoned her console and sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Tell me we're ready for this," Natasha said quietly. It wasn't a question. It was a plea for reassurance. Helena turned to look at her, seeing past the tactical analyst to the woman who'd stood beside her through 3 years of hell. "Remember New Harmony Colony?" Natasha's expression darkened. New Harmony had been their worst failure, a settlement of 12,000 souls that had burned because they'd trusted alien peace overtures. They'd arrived to negotiate and found only ashes. We learned from that, Helena continued, reaching for Natasha's hand. We learned to trust our instincts, to see through the performance. If they want to play this game, we'll play it better. Natasha's fingers tightened around hers. And after? If we survive this? After, Helena allowed herself a small, genuine smile. After we take that leave time you keep telling me I need. Maybe somewhere quiet. Maybe somewhere we can figure out what this is without the weight of the galaxy on our shoulders. I'll hold you to that promise. Natasha leaned in, and for just a moment, in the artificial calm before the storm, their lips met, gentle, desperate, full of all the words they'd never said aloud. The moment shattered as Helena's calm erupted with Webb's urgent voice. Ambassador, they're moving! Energy signatures spiking across all hidden vessels. Whatever they're planning, it's happening soon. Helena pulled away from Natasha, the diplomat's mask sliding back into place even as her heart hammered. How long? Best estimate? The treaty signing is scheduled for 1900 hours. I'd bet my ship they make their move then. Maximum witnesses. Maximum propaganda value when they claim we violated the peace. Then we don't give them the satisfaction. Helena stood, straightening her formal diplomatic robes. Natasha, I need you to plant our countermeasure packages near their primary communication arrays. Can you do it without being detected? Natasha was already moving, pulling equipment from hidden compartments in their luggage. Give me 20 minutes. You've got 15. As Natasha slipped from the quarters, Helena accessed one more channel, a direct line to Lieutenant David Cross, Webb's most skilled fighter pilot. Cross, are you in position? Ready and waiting, Ambassador. The young pilot's voice carried an edge of anticipation. Got a photo of my fiancée on my dash. Promised her I'd come home. Keep that promise, Lieutenant. But first, I need you ready to take out their communication relay the moment things go hot. Can you do it? Ma'am, I can thread a missile through a needle at 30,000 kilometers. Their relay won't know what hit it. Helena allowed herself a grim smile. Good hunting, Cross. She stood alone in the quarters, looking out at the seemingly peaceful station, the distant planet, the moons that hid death. Somewhere out there, hundreds of thousands of soldiers on both sides waited for the signal that would decide their fates. The galaxy wanted its peace ceremony. Helena would give them a ceremony, just not the one they expected. The mask falls, the treaty chamber was a masterpiece of political theater. Curved walls displayed live feeds from 100 worlds, all watching as their leaders gathered around a circular table carved from asteroid crystal. Ambient light cast everything in soft, hopeful golds and blues. Musicians from various species played harmonious melodies that blended alien sounds with human instruments. Helena took her designated seat, acutely aware of the weight of the pen in her pocket, the one that would sign either a treaty or a death warrant. Natasha stood behind her in the advisor's position, having successfully planted their countermeasures. The woman's calm exterior betrayed nothing of the pulse grenades and signal jammers now hidden throughout the station's infrastructure. Cortex rose, his forearms spreading wide in a gesture meant to appear welcoming. His scales had settled into peaceful emerald patterns. Honored delegates, we gather today to end the bloodshed that has torn our galaxy apart. Too many have died. Too many worlds have burned. Today we choose a different path. The words were beautiful. The cameras capturing every angle made sure the entire galaxy heard them. Helena studied the other alien delegates, the insectoid Varantis with their multifaceted eyes, the gaseous Zelthara floating in containment suits, the reptilian Kethrai whose claws rested a bit too close to concealed weapons. They were all in on it. She could see it in the way they positioned themselves, in the subtle glances exchanged when they thought humans weren't watching. The terms are simple, Cortex continued, producing a holographic document that floated above the table. Humanity agrees to withdraw from the disputed territories. In exchange, the Coalition guarantees safe passage for your colonies and trade rights through our space lanes. Helena read through the terms with practiced efficiency. On the surface, they seemed reasonable, almost generous. But buried in the subsections were provisions that would leave human colonies defenseless. Strip Earth's fleet of forward operating bases, and essentially bottle humanity back into their home system. These terms, Helena said carefully, seem to require significant unilateral concessions from humanity. What guarantees do we have that the Coalition will honor their commitments? Cortex's scales flickered, annoyance poorly concealed. Our word, Ambassador. Is that not enough? Words without verification mean very little in my experience. Helena kept her voice level, but let steel enter it. We've seen coalitions break promises before. New Harmony Colony remembers. Oh wait, New Harmony can't remember anything because your peacekeeping forces reduced it to radioactive slag. The chamber went silent. Several alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. The cameras continued recording every word. Corthex's scales darkened to angry crimson. That was an unfortunate incident caused by rogue elements. Rogue elements commanding 12 warships and orbital bombardment platforms? Helena stood slowly. Tell me, Corthex, are the 12 Vorantis battlecruisers currently hiding behind the third moon also rogue elements? The reaction was immediate. Alien delegates erupted in protest, some genuinely shocked, others performing shock poorly. Corthex's scales went completely black. A threat display. You dare accuse us of treachery? His voice dropped the diplomatic veneer, becoming a hiss of pure venom. We offer peace and you respond with paranoid accusations. I respond with facts. Helena tapped her wrist device. Holographic displays erupted throughout the chamber, showing thermal scans of the hidden fleet, intercepted communications, tactical positioning that could only mean one thing: ambush. Did you really think we'd come blind to your trap? The chamber's lights flickered, a planned effect. The doors sealed with heavy metallic clangs that echoed like prison gates. Alien security forces emerged from concealed positions, weapons raised. The careful choreography of betrayal unfolded exactly as humanity had anticipated. Corthex abandoned all pretense, his 4 arms reaching for concealed weapons. You should have taken the mercy we offered, Ambassador. Now you'll take only ash. Helena didn't flinch. Captain Webb, status? Her comm came alive with Webb's voice, broadcast openly now for all to hear. Third Fleet has weapons lock on every coalition vessel. Yamamoto's carriers are launching fighters. Lieutenant Cross has the alien relay in his sights. On your word, Ambassador. Corthex's eyes widened as he realized the trap had teeth pointing both directions. Impossible. We monitored every human ship, every transmission. You monitored what we wanted you to monitor. Helena's voice carried the weight of every betrayal humanity had endured, every lesson learned in blood. Did you really think we'd forget New Harmony? Forget Proxima? Forget every time your coalition spoke of peace while sharpening knives? Through the chamber's viewing ports, the first signs of battle appeared. Distant flashes as human ships decloaked, weapons hot and ready. Corthex's carefully orchestrated ambush was collapsing before it could even begin. Natasha moved to Helena's side, producing a compact plasma pistol from her diplomatic satchel. Around them, the 6-person human security detail revealed themselves as full combat troops. Their formal uniforms designed to conceal tactical armor and weapons. You wanted a ceremony, Helena said coldly as alarms began wailing throughout the station. Let me show you ours. Lieutenant Cross, take out their communications. Captain Webb, show them what happens when you betray humanity. With pleasure. Ambassador. Cross's voice crackled with battle joy. Through the viewports, a single sleek fighter streaked toward the station's communication array, a lance of human determination and skill. Its missiles flew true, and the relay exploded in a cascade of sparks and debris. Simultaneously, the hidden human fleet erupted from darkness. Railguns fired, plasma cannons lit the void, and missiles swarmed toward the Coalition's ambush fleet like angry hornets. The battle of the false peace had begun. Corthex roared in fury and lunged for Helena with all 4 arms extended, claws ready to rend flesh. But Natasha was faster, her plasma pistol spitting blue fire that caught him in the shoulder. He stumbled, hissing in pain. That, Natasha said calmly, is for New Harmony. Helena activated her own concealed weapon, a neural disruptor that sent the nearest alien security forces convulsing to the floor. Human Marines advanced with practiced precision, establishing a defensive perimeter. To any coalition forces receiving this, Helena broadcast on all frequencies, her voice cutting through the chaos. You wanted war disguised as peace. Now you have war with no disguises. Choose carefully what you do next, because humanity is done being merciful. Outside, the void erupted in fire, and the galaxy's greatest betrayal became its greatest miscalculation. Fire answers. Fire, the void around the summit station transformed into a maelstrom of light and violence. Human dreadnoughts emerged from the darkness like vengeful ghosts, their hulls bearing the scars of previous battles and the determination of a species that had learned never to trust blindly again. Captain Jonas Webb stood on the bridge of his flagship. Unbreakable resolve, his weathered face illuminated by tactical displays showing dozens of engagement vectors. The Coalition's hidden fleet had scrambled at the first sign of detection, but they'd positioned themselves for ambush, not defense. Now they paid the price for their arrogance. "Target their command cruiser," Webb ordered, his voice carrying the calm of decades spent in combat. "Railgun batteries, full volley." The unbreakable resolve shuddered as its primary weapons discharged. Hyperdense slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed, invisible until they hammered into the shields of the lead Verantis battlecruiser. Energy barriers flared brilliant white before collapsing, and the follow-up shots punched through armor plating like paper. "Direct hit. Enemy shields down, hull breaches across multiple sections," his tactical officer called out. But the Coalition fleet was recovering from their surprise. 12 capital ships began returning fire, their weapon systems lighting up the darkness. Green energy lances from Verantis plasma batteries slashed across the void, while Kethrai missile swarms spiraled toward human positions like schools of metallic predators. "Evasive pattern Delta 7, Webb commanded. "Deploy countermeasures and bring us about for another pass." Admiral Takeshi Yamamoto's 5th carrier group had emerged behind the second moon, exactly where Coalition sensors had been blind. His flagship, Rising Sun, disgorged waves of fighters, sleek vessels crewed by pilots who'd trained their entire lives for moments like this. All fighter wings. This is Yamamoto. "Execute attack pattern Ronin. Target enemy point defense systems and clear the path for our bombers. The Emperor's spirit watches over you. Make your ancestors proud." Lieutenant David Cross led Raptor Squadron through a hellstorm of defensive fire. His fighter twisted and rolled, the photo of his fiancée Margaret taped to his console, seeming to smile at him through the G-forces. "Raptor 2, break left. You've got a Verantis interceptor on your 6, Cross called out, already adjusting his vector. "I see him."
"Can't shake him, Cross."
"I've got you." Cross's fingers danced across his controls with practiced grace. His fighter dove beneath his wingman's trajectory, coming up behind the alien interceptor in a maneuver that defied conventional physics. His railgun stitched a line of destruction across the enemy's engines, and it spun away in a death spiral. "Raptor 2 clear." "Thanks for the save, Lieutenant. Stay sharp. We're not done yet." Cross checked his tactical display. The Coalition's communication disruption systems were attempting to jam human coordination, sophisticated electronic warfare that would have crippled a less prepared force. But humanity had learned from every defeat, adapted from every loss. Cross armed his specialized EMP missiles and painted the enemy jamming vessel. Going in. "Raptor Squadron, cover my approach." His fighters formed up around him, their combined defensive fire creating a corridor through enemy interceptors. Margaret's face smiled at him from the console. "Come home to me," she'd said before he shipped out. "Come home and I'll forgive you for being a reckless idiot." "For Margaret," he whispered, then opened the throttle to maximum. His fighter became a streak of human defiance, threading through defensive fire with microscopic adjustments. Missiles launched at the jamming vessel, their electromagnetic pulses cascading through its systems. The enemy ship went dark, its sophisticated equipment fried beyond repair. Jamming vessel neutralized. Cross whooped. "All channels clear for coordination." With communication restored, the human fleet operated as a single organism. Webb's heavy ships hammered away at enemy capital vessels while Yamamoto's carriers controlled the tactical space, their fighters and bombers striking with surgical precision. But the Coalition wasn't broken yet. A massive Kethrai dreadnought, the Crimson Fang, pushed through the battle line. Its hull was layered with armor plating twice as thick as human equivalents, and its weapons batteries could level cities. Webb. "That's their command ship." Yamamoto's voice crackled through the comm. "If we take it down, their coordination collapses." "Easier said than done, Yamamoto. That thing's built like a flying fortress." "Then we hit it with everything we have, simultaneously." Webb studied the tactical situation. The Crimson Fang was positioning itself to fire on the summit station, probably planning to destroy it with all the human delegates inside, then blame humanity for the atrocity. Classic false flag operation. "All ships, this is Webb. Concentrate fire on the Crimson Fang. Yamamoto, get your bombers in close. We're taking that bastard down." The coordinated assault began. Human dreadnoughts poured railgun fire into the enemy flagship, while fighters strafed its point defense systems. Yamamoto's bombers dove through the chaos, their torpedo bays loaded with ship killers. On the unbreakable Resolve, Webb watched as his ship traded blow for blow with the enemy. His armor held, but barely. Hull breaches on 3 decks, casualties mounting, but his crew never faltered. "Sir, our plasma capacitors are overheating." "If we fire another full salvo, then we fire half salvos and keep up the pressure," Webb interrupted. "That ship dies before it can fire on the station." Inside the summit station, Helena monitored the battle through emergency channels. Alien delegates cowered as the structure shook from nearby explosions. Cortex, wounded and restrained, hissed curses in his native tongue. "Your fleet is outnumbered," he spat. "Even if you win here, the coalition will learn the same lesson every bully learns eventually," Natasha interrupted, pressing her pistol against his temple. "Pick on someone weaker or face the consequences." Helena's calm crackled. "Ambassador, this is Cross. Be advised, we're about to light up that dreadnought. Recommend you brace for shockwaves." "Acknowledged, Lieutenant. Give them hell." Cross led the final bomber run personally, his squadron carrying humanity's heaviest ordnance. The Crimson Fang loomed ahead, its weapons charging for a devastating blast. "Remember your training," Cross told his pilots. "Fast, precise, don't hesitate. And if I don't make it out, tell Margaret I love her." "Belay that defeatist talk, Lieutenant." Webb's voice cut in. "You're coming home." "That's an order," Cross smiled grimly. "Yes, sir." "All bombers, weapons free." The torpedoes launched as one, each warhead carrying enough explosive force to crack a small moon. They converged on the Crimson Fang's critical sections: engines, reactor housing, weapon systems, all identified through countless battles against similar vessels. The enemy flagship tried to evade, but it was too massive, too slow. The torpedoes struck home, and for a moment nothing happened. Then the Crimson Fang erupted from within, a chain reaction of catastrophic explosions that tore the great ship apart. "Target destroyed!" Multiple voices shouted across the human fleet. The coalition fleet broke. With their command ship gone and their ambush turned against them, the surviving vessels scattered, trying desperately to escape. "Pursue and destroy," Webb ordered coldly. "Let none escape to tell lies about what happened here." The battle of the false peace was over. Humanity had been tested once again, and once again they had proven that betrayal carried a terrible price. The price of deception. The void was quiet now, but it was the quiet of exhaustion rather than peace. Debris fields spread across thousands of kilometers, twisted metal, frozen atmosphere, and the scattered remains of ships that had come hunting and found themselves prey instead. The unbreakable Resolve limped through the wreckage, its hull scored with plasma burns and perforated by railgun impacts. Captain Jonas Webb moved through his damaged ship, past medical teams treating wounded crew, past engineers frantically patching hull breaches. 53 dead, over 100 wounded. The cost of survival was always paid in blood. "Captain," his communications officer called out. "Admiral Yamamoto is requesting status." Webb accepted the call. Seeing Yamamoto's face appear on his display, the admiral looked as exhausted as Webb felt, but his eyes burned with grim satisfaction. "The coalition fleet is broken," Yamamoto reported. 11 capital ships destroyed, the 12th fled toward their home territory with heavy damage. "Our fighter losses were significant but acceptable. Lieutenant Cross is asking permission to return to the station. Tell Cross he's earned his leave time. Tell all our pilots they've earned it." Webb paused, his voice softening slightly. "How's your ship?" "Rising Sun will fly again, though she'll need months in dry dock. But we held the line, Webb. We held it." "That we did, old friend. That we did." Inside the summit station, Helena Merrick stood in what remained of the grand treaty chamber. The elegant hall was scorched and pockmarked with weapons fire. Several alien delegates lay dead from the brief firefight that had erupted when the battle began. Others sat under human guard, their expressions ranging from shock to barely concealed rage. Cortex, bound and wounded, glared at her with undimmed hatred. "You've won nothing. The coalition will regroup. More fleets will come. You cannot fight the entire galaxy." Helena approached him slowly, her diplomatic robes torn and stained, but her bearing still regal. "Perhaps. But every fleet you send will pay the same price as this one. And eventually, even your coalition will realize that the cost of destroying humanity exceeds any benefit." She turned to address all the surviving alien delegates, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. and through every communication channel broadcasting across the galaxy. The cameras were still running after all. The galaxy would hear this message. You called us here under the banner of peace while preparing weapons of war. You spoke of unity while plotting murder. You thought humanity would come as sheep to slaughter. Helena's eyes swept across the aliens, her gaze like iron. But we are not sheep. We have never been sheep. She gestured toward the viewports, where the wreckage of the coalition fleet drifted. This is what happens when you mistake caution for weakness. When you confuse diplomacy with surrender. Humanity came to this table willing to negotiate, willing to find genuine peace. Instead, you gave us treachery. Natasha moved to stand beside Helena, her presence a silent statement of solidarity. Around them, human Marines maintained their perimeter, weapons ready but not aggressive. We did not start this war, Helena continued, her voice spreading across the stars to every world that watched. Your coalition struck first, burned our colonies, murdered our civilians. We sought peace despite your violence. And when you tried to trap us under the guise of that peace, she let the silence hang for a moment. You learned that humanity adapts. We learn, we prepare, and we never ever forgive betrayal. One of the alien delegates, a Zelthera floating in its containment suit, spoke, its voice modulated through atmospheric processors. What will you do with us? Execute us as examples? Helena's expression softened slightly. No, because unlike your coalition, humanity doesn't slaughter delegates and prisoners. You'll be returned to your governments with a message. She stepped closer to the cameras, knowing this moment would be replayed across countless worlds. To the coalition, to any empire that watches, to any civilization that might consider following this path, hear me clearly. Humanity offers peace to those who come in good faith. We will negotiate, trade, and cooperate with those who treat us as equals. Her voice hardened to steel. But if you come to us with lies, if you seek to chain us or break us, if you betray the trust we extend, then know that we will meet your fire with fire. We will fight with every weapon we possess, every tactic we can devise, every ounce of will our species has forged through millennia of surviving against impossible odds. She paused, letting the words sink in. You wanted to make an example of humanity today. Instead, you've made an example of yourselves. Let the wreckage of your fleet be your monument. Let your fallen ships be your warning to others. On the unbreakable resolve, Webb watched the broadcast with his surviving crew. Around the bridge, exhausted men and women straightened with pride as Helena's words echoed. They'd paid a terrible price, but they'd proven something essential. Humanity would not be cowed. Lieutenant David Cross landed his battered fighter in Yamamoto's main hangar bay, his hands shaking as the adrenaline finally faded. He peeled off his helmet and stared at Margaret's photo, now slightly singed from a near miss that had scorched his console. I'm coming home, he whispered, just like I promised. Back on the station, Helena concluded her broadcast. This war began with your betrayal. It will end only when you accept that humanity is not your victim. We are your equal. Treat us as such, and peace is possible. Continue as you have. She gestured toward the debris field one final time. And this will be your eternal fate. The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Natasha reached for Helena's hand, squeezing gently. That might be the most diplomatic declaration of "try us again and we'll burn your worlds" I've ever heard. Helena managed a tired smile. Diplomacy is about sending the right message. I think we've sent ours. What happens now? Natasha asked quietly, voicing the question both of them were thinking. Now? Helena looked around at the wreckage, the bodies, the cost of survival. Now we rebuild. We strengthen our defenses. We prepare for whatever comes next. She turned to face Natasha fully, her expression softening. And we take that leave time. 2 weeks. Somewhere quiet, where we can finally figure out what this is between us. Natasha's eyes brightened despite her exhaustion. 2 weeks isn't nearly enough. Then we'll take more. We've earned it. Helena allowed herself to lean against Natasha, just for a moment, drawing strength from her presence. We've earned some happiness after all this darkness. Around them, human ships began the slow process of collecting their dead, treating their wounded, and counting the cost. The summit station would be abandoned, left as a monument to failed treachery. The coalition would retreat to their territories, nursing wounds both physical and to their pride and humanity. Humanity would do what it had always done: survive, adapt, and ensure that anyone who tested them learned the lesson permanently. Captain Webb sent his final report to Earth Command. Mission accomplished. Enemy forces destroyed. All delegates safe. The galaxy wanted to know what humanity would do when betrayed. They have their answer. Admiral Yamamoto added his own note. Recommend all involved personnel for commendation. Lieutenant Cross especially. His actions saved the fleet's coordination at a critical moment. Also recommend extensive shore leave. My people have earned rest. As the human fleet began its journey home, carrying heroes living and dead, the galaxy watched and learned. Some empires began drafting new diplomatic overtures, genuine this time. Others plotted revenge, unable to accept the shift in power dynamics. But all of them remembered the battle of the false peace. All of them learned the lesson written in burning ships and scattered debris. Humanity could be many things: diplomatic, reasonable, willing to forgive, but never, ever weak. Helena Merrick stood at the viewport of her transport, watching the stars stream past as they accelerated toward Earth. Natasha slept with her head on Helena's shoulder, exhaustion finally claiming her. We held the line, Helena whispered to the stars. We stood at the edge of annihilation and we held. Behind her, the void was dark and cold and infinite. But humanity had learned long ago that even in the deepest darkness, they could kindle their own light. And that light would never be extinguished by those who spoke peace while preparing war. The covenant of shattered stars had been written in fire and blood. Let the galaxy remember it well.